The Union were back at home on Saturday looking to bounce back after their first loss of the season, and they did exactly that. We'll discuss what led to the Union's 1-0 victory on Saturday and how they can keep the good things going as they take on one of the league's best this weekend. All that and more as Union Insider starts right now. Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Union Insider presented by Independence Blue Cross. I'm your host, Marisa. I'm alongside club legend Sebastian Letou and Union play-by-play announcer Dave Leno. Well, guys, it was uncharted territory in 2025 for the Union going into their game on Saturday. It was the first time the team was coming off a loss this season, and with the newer team still gelling under a new head coach, responding well to their first obstacle of the season would be no easy task. Couple that with going against Bradley Carnell and Indiana Vasilev's former team, missing multiple regulars from the lineup, and a first ever match against a team in their third season. Wow, the Union had a lot cut out for them, but here's how it all went down at Subaru Park.
A 1-0 win for the Philadelphia Union at home, who improved to 4-1.
All right, we have to play with courage, we have to play with conviction, all right? And we have to stick to the details, all right? The details, the principles, our togetherness will get us there, no worries, okay? Then we will win.
Many Union players are away with their respective national teams, but it's an opportunity for guys to step up in what hopes to be a bounce-back game against an unbeaten squad coming into town. From Subaru Park in Chester, Pennsylvania, the Philadelphia Union collide with St. Louis City SC for the first meeting between the clubs. Kai tumbles into the ball, powerful in-swinger, look for the header, and it's gone! Glavonovich! It is Union, second game, his first start.
Pulls it all the way back, Hartl, and what a tackle from Glesnes. Perfectly timed. Allen plays it in. It's on. Betcher, Teutschert. Rick was at full stretch, and the best attacking move of the night for the City Slickers.
A 1-0 win for the Philadelphia Union at home, who improved to 4-1. Glavonovich gets his first Union goal in the 8th minute, a clean sheet for Andrew Rick and the collective Union team. They take it 1-0 over St. Louis City.
What a massive win for the Union it was this weekend. Not only, as we mentioned, several key players were out on international duty, but this was the first time this Bradley Carnell team was facing adversity coming off their first loss. How would you assess how they showed up?
I think they did exactly what they were supposed to do, and like you said, especially with missing a lot of guys in the starting 11, you can see a lot of adversity from the entire group, and you can saw that it was one of the questions at the beginning of the season. It's does the Unions have enough depth in their squad, and you can see that they did. They play a St. Louis team who were undefeated, who play kind of like soccer, really stay behind, trying counter-attack, and they didn't get shy. They went from the first minute attacking this team. They scored early, and at the end got a great clean sheet, and really worked well together with guys who didn't play a minute in this season. So it was great to see, and it gave a lot of hope, I think, for the rest of the season.
Dave, what did you see? Who stood out to you in this one?
Well, I want to compliment all 6 new players coming in from the Nashville game into this one. And for me, Marisa and Seba, the counter-pressing was really good in the game. Remember, at times, St. Louis had about 70% of the possession. And in this game, I saw a lot of 6v5 opportunities, which really aided the Union's success. Kai Wagner was huge. I knew that St. Louis, in my scout, watching them on tape, defended very narrow, and that they would basically say to the Union, you have the ball, break us down, because we're going to play on the counter. So for me, Kai had a really good game in this one. I thought Nate Harriel, as a second number 10 in a position that he's never played before, played very admirable up top as well. When you had Jan Glavonovich coming in as a left center back paired to Glesnes, as Seba referenced, I thought Glesnes had a really, really good bounce back game from the Nashville game to this St. Louis City game. They only held St. Louis to 1 shot on target the whole game. That's a heck of a job by the coaching staff and the collective team.
What did you think of Nate Harriel in that position and how it affected the attack?
I mean, it's not easy, and it was his first start, for the team. So playing more as a, let's say, right midfielder, like number 10, as Dave said. But he was more, try to help, Baizo on the side, making sure, defensively they were organized and they can help each other, with Baizo to, making sure that there is not a lot of attack on their side, and did a great job. And then offensively, he was a lot in the box, trying to bring some runs. We saw, of course, more crosses on Kai Wagner's side, but it's not easy. And when you come and you play the foundation and you get a win, I think it brings a lot of confidence to Nathan Ariel to maybe come back as a right back. Now he can show that he can play and come in in a game when you need some more energy at this position as well. So it's another thing for the coaching staff to see. So it was great. But I agree with Dave. Everybody, I think, defensively play well, and the fact that they just had one shot on target with a very windy weather again. I think Andrew Rick as a goalkeeper coming in as well, making a big save in the first half and then getting a clean sheet is very good, for the entire defense to come back after a tough loss against Nashville.
And Seba, throughout our radio broadcast that we called, remember we said Edward Leuven was barely called by us a lot in the game, and then he got a red card in the 66th minute. So the Union kept their number 10 very quiet in the game. They looked to play on the counter in that matchup, in particular to Hartle and Toyshirt, maybe for one late opportunity for Giannis Horn coming into the top of the box, remember, around the 80th minute. That was really their only chance to equalize in the game. So the Union did their job defensively, and like we called on radio, there probably could have been 2 or 3 goals in the first half. Remember, Nate Harriel had 2 opportunities, so did Damiani on a volley by Nate that went high into the crowd. Ua almost had a header that went in. So this team is creating the numerical advantages. They're counter-pressing and they're winning the ball high up the field. This is all the MO under Bradley Carnell. And for me, that's a really, really huge statement win by this team. After, I know many folks were down on the Nashville game, but to come back going into the Miami game and getting another clean sheet, the second clean sheet of the year, without so many guys, as you referenced, both of you, with international play, I'm very happy for the club winning 4 out of the first 5.
Dave, who made Bradley Carnell's job a little harder this week, being that they played so well and showed up so big on last Saturday?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. For me, I think Jan Glavinovic is one that I know Seba and I were just referencing, that now you have Owutu Makanyu didn't play due to red card suspension from the Nashville game. Glavinovic, maybe he starts the Miami game next to Gleznes. How do you take out a guy who scored, who played well? He's making very good decisions in the back. And I look for him and Gleznes to continue that high line of confrontation in the next matchup, should he start.
Well, Dave, the Union, as you said, only scored once on Saturday, but it was a very important one, as that was the only tally in the 1-0 win over St. Louis City. So naturally, we got to break it down and just how that goal happened this week in this week's key play of the week, presented by Subaru. Over at the big board is Seba. Seba, take it away.
Thank you, Marisa. And we are going back for 2 weeks in a row for Kickin' for Chicken. And what it means is like free nuggets for every Union fan, the following weeks. But it started, with a great corner again from Kai Wagner, right at the beginning of this game. And who else but the newcomer in first start, Glavinovic, with a great header. And what you can see, it's, at the start of the corner kick, especially with Kai Wagner, when you see him, he really delivered a great cross. Very hard for Glavinovic because he has to back up a little bit. But what you saw on the corner kick is Kai Wagner, right here. He has both of his hands in the air. What it means, it's usually that he's going to hit the ball in the second post. I used to be corner kick sometimes and you miss, you raise your hands, you hit first post. But on this one, he did a great job, especially with a windy night, having a great ball, delivering to the second post. So if you keep playing, you see the load of the player of the Union is more into the back post with Gleznes and Sullivan. But at the end, it's Glavinovic, coming back with a great run, for Damiani, opening a bit of space for him and having, not a very hard, not easy header. He really go back, put some power into it, and with a little bounce into the far post, he beats, the goalkeeper Lund of St. Louis, who can just see the ball in the back of the net, and it was another great start for the Union.
Yeah, beautiful goal, great start for the Union, and we've got more Union Insider for you in a bit, but first, here's your Union trivia question presented by United Concordia. This is the second time in club history the Union have earned 12 points through their first 5 games in a season. Which other season did this happen in? Dave, don't answer because you're going to have to find out later in the show. Time now for our Chick-fil-A Nuggets of the Month. We are so proud to recognize Haverford Soccer Club. They were all invited out to the Union against St. Louis City SC match this past Saturday at Subaru Park, thanks to Chick-fil-A. Welcome back to Union Insider presented by Independence Blue Cross. Before the Union's match against St. Louis City SC, the team was going to be faced with one of their first tough tasks of the season. How do they bounce back from the first loss of 2025 while putting out a lineup that won't have several regulars? Well, we found out exactly from the person making the lineups about how that came to be. Our own Sage Hurley sat down with head coach Bradley Carnell before the match to discuss those changes, what training was like last week, and the beauty of trying new things in this edition of Coffee Talk with Coach.
Proud of the group so far, and we've started the season with 2 new debutants, and there's been so many success stories early on, and we've gained a lot of traction, gained a lot of respect in the league, and so I'm really happy about the environment of the team right now. The sort of training environment and on and off the field, the learning environment where we are as a group right now. And then for me, it's about 7, 8 new opportunities, right? So everyone's chomping at the bit. Guys were training well. People are pushing neck and neck. So now that we can actually change, we're excited to get the players on the field as well.
Like you said, that word opportunity. There will be opportunities for players who might not have seen the pitch as much as they would have liked to possibly get a chance. What has been your message to those guys, and how have they been this week in training? Yeah,
listen, it's always about, and I say it every time we're here, compete as every single day, right? You're trying to take somebody's job away, and the life of a pro is there's always somebody knocking at the door, right? So whether that's as a coach, whether it's as a player or a staff member, there's always somebody waiting for their opportunity. And now, if you train hard enough, if you compete hard enough, the opportunities will come because, situational events might happen, national teams, injuries, form. These things will happen during the course of a season, and now opportunities are presenting themselves, and like I said, we're so excited to get guys on the field because they've thoroughly deserved their appearance or their opportunities. So yeah, we're excited.
So a week like this can be a little bit different in training. Few less bodies on the field. I saw even yourself and your assistant coach Mitch Hildebrandt were out there in drills. What was something that stood out to you on the pitch this week?
Well, normally the camera moves really quickly because we play so fast. With Mitch and myself, it was moving really slow, right? No, I mean, just trying to create certain pictures, what we're trying to give the boys, feel familiar and comfortable with, what the opponent might present. And if we're numbers down, Mitch and I do it as best as we can to try and recreate certain pictures. But, there's different learning environments. There's the practical learning environment, and there's the images that we at least take from the trainings and the games, and then put them in a visualization form, and then do it in the video room. So oftentimes it's us, or it's just a byproduct of what we're trying to do. But listen, we've had enough numbers out there. I mean, we had 20 players out there today, which was great. I mean, we've been at different periodization schematics because Union 2 have been playing on a Monday, we played on a Sunday, and then we were in New England on a Saturday, they played on a Sunday. So guys joining us at different days of the week. So in terms of the sports science behind it, Ryan Carter has done an amazing job just with the periodization and knowing who's on what level to get up to training speed. So come today, everyone was at the same sort of load, I would say, and everyone was ready to go Thursday, Friday, play Saturday.
And is there anything about the personnel that you have for this game that changes your strategy a little bit?
We can go in this game free, right? Just the first other couple of games we were pushing the needle, really wanted to do this, really wanted to do that. Now we have a baseline of what we're trying to do, and go out now, execute, but be free, be brave. There's no wrongs here. The wrongs is my game plan, and I'll assume the responsibility. But for the guys, they just have to empty the tank first and foremost, and win the 1v1 duel, and then the rest will take care of itself. So yeah, I'm excited to see that.
Well, cheers to that, Coach. Good luck this weekend, and
thank you.
Thank you for the insight.
Thanks again for the coffee.
Absolutely.
We're coming up on a break for Union Insider, but when we return, we'll preview the Union's upcoming match this weekend against the reigning Supporter Shield winners, Inter Miami. We'll be right back after this. Time for this week's Union Update presented by Torque. The Philadelphia Union hosted its Women's Health and Wellness Fair as part of its celebration of Women's History Month. This event, which was open to women of all ages, focused on addressing the unique health needs of women in Chester and other areas of high need. During the event, attendees were able to take advantage of many resources and vendors specializing in health screenings, interactive sessions, COVID-19 and flu vaccine information, exercise sessions, and seminars on health-related topics. Welcome back to Union Insider, presented by Independence Blue Cross. I'm Marisa Pilla here with Sebastian Letou and Dave Leno, and the Union have a big matchup on Saturday. So let's go over what the team needs to do in order to get a win against Miami in this week's Keys to the Game, presented by Subaru. Seba?
I mean, we always say, it's like for me a type of game that we have nothing to lose, but I will say you have everything to win. It's something that, the team, nobody were expecting the Union to be first in the East right now with 12 points. Miami is second with 10. We all have the expert of the MLS putting Miami, winning the Eastern Conference this year. So for all the guys, who are going to start this game and be able to play and contribute, there's no pressure for them. I think they can really play at their full level, not expecting anything. And I'm sure if they do, and not kind of like just waiting for Miami because we kind of believe they are the best, and they have, of course, great player, number 10 who might play, might not play, we don't know yet. But I think if they just play their own style, not worried about, just defending and playing because of Miami, we could have a good result. So it's a great opportunity to kind of show to Miami that they are for real, and they could, maybe make them, doubt about being the first in the East. And, great weather. Hopefully, Dave, you're going to be there. But I'm just looking forward to have, all the guys playing as a fully, and having the coaching staff, making the best starting 11. Because as we know, we had few guys playing, this week in international duty. So there's not, a lot of pressure. But we can see now there's a lot of guys who can contribute and maybe get us 3 points in Miami.
Almost playing with house money a little bit, the Union are right now.
Exactly.
Dave, for you?
The Union in this game have to make good decisions in the defensive third. That, to me, is the most paramount when watching the tape on Inter Miami. Here's what I mean. Miami with their pressing cues with Allende and Segovia, also Suarez. We'll see if Messi plays. He's played 2 out of the 4 MLS games. By the way, they're also in CONCACAF Champions League games. They have a matchup after the Union game against LAFC the following Wednesday in a quarterfinal match. In this game, whoever starts at center back, whether it's Glesnes, Klavinovic, or Makanya, their first pass to the right, to the left, they need to make a crisp pass, and the reads need to be spot on. The decision-making has to be very, very paramount in the game, because multiple goals that Inter Miami has scored this year, including Messi in the Atlanta game, the last MLS matchup for them, they came from mistakes out of the back from the opposition, and Miami pounced on them. So, Seba, I know you played, back in your youth days in the back and flourished as a forward in the Union system. These guys out of the back in this game have to be very, very good with their passing.
No, they have to be very good, of course, but I think, like you say, it's just kind of get out of the image of them that they are compared maybe against Suarez and Messi, and be a bit scared, when they receive the ball. They are good enough, we saw them during the beginning of the game. They are, successful when they play in Florida. We got a win against Orlando, and we got it because, we had Kyle Wagner and Westfield, going up the field, making it difficult for the Miami forward for the Orlando forward to defend. Could they do the same against Miami? It's something like you say, but it will start with a good pass from the back and not losing in the final third.
Well, it's time for our last break of the show, but when we return, the guys will give their final thoughts on the Union's matchup on Saturday against Inter Miami. Union Insider will wrap up after this. Here's the answer to this week's Union Trivia question presented by United Concordia. The Union have accumulated 12 points in their first 5 games once before, which was in, drumroll, 2022. That year, they earned 13 points in their first 5 games, going 4-0-1 in that span. Well, it's our final segment here on Union Insider, presented by Independence Blue Cross, and it's time for the guys to give me their final thoughts of the show for this week's edition of Final Whistle, presented by Allstate. Going to switch things up. Dave, you go first. Your final thoughts.
If Lionel Messi plays in this game, the Union have to be very, very good in rest defense. So when we have the ball, do we know where Messi is when we have possession further up the field? Because they quickly look to play. 1, 2 quick touches, look to play into space. For me in the game, you can't let Lionel Messi beat you. He's played in 2 of the 4 MLS games. And the other guy is Luis Suarez up top. He's very clinical around the box. Suarez doesn't have the speed as he had in his prior days playing in international football, but he's very good at running off the back shoulder of opposing center backs and scoring. So if you shut down those two guys, and when I say shut down, limit their opportunities. So it's guys, Danley coming back from Haiti, Lukic as well, Glesnes, if it's Glavinovic or Makanya, those guys in the middle of the park, especially on their big players, because they have so much speed, quickly, when they win the ball out of the back, they look for those guys up top for Miami. And I want to see other guys get opportunities for them, not Messi and Suarez in the matchup.
All right, Seba?
I mean, there's no expectation again for that game. I feel like,
You can't stress this enough.
I cannot, just because, it's going to be a fun game to watch. I'm going to be here with my popcorn watching this game, enjoying hopefully a great performance from the Union against Miami, who, is kind of like playing to kind of get back number one, but we are first right now in the East. So for the guys who don't feel, I feel it's just fun, just pleasure. And what we talk about, it's been 5 games, it's going to be the 6th of the season for the team. We are still building. I think it's a great taste for them to play that team first against second, kind of a little, pressure as well to be, hey, we can still be first after if we win this game. So it's going to be, I think, a great game. I just want them to play without fear, without, breaks, and go all in and hopefully get a positive result.
Look, play with authenticity and no fear behind it. And then it could be another big statement-making game for the Union on Saturday. That's going to do it for this one. The Union are back on the road this weekend as they travel down to Fort Lauderdale to take on Inter Miami at Chase Stadium. Shannon Williams will be alongside Dave Leno on the radio call on WWDB 860 AM and 97.5 The Fanatic. The game can also be seen on MLS Season Pass. For Seba and Dave, I'm Marissa, and we'll see you next week.